Hard hat's all about showing up to play hard, doing what it takes to win.
If you want to cement legacy, win another.
He's your third center.
You don't want to pump him up too much, but it's hard not to.
This is maybe the most I've ever agreed with you.
Jackson didn't let the music run. That's
nah,
okay.
Jackson's doing 12 things tonight. He's at the Garden.
We still love him.
He was been
It's all
editing
good.
pods all day. Jackson's
Amit's on like permanent vacation, I guess.
Amit just goes cool places now. That's what he does.
Yeah, he's just traveling.
Mobile, Alabama. Sherrod staring straight ahead.
Being
like
mysterious.
We'll figure it out.
Sherrod is got some screens flashing. I can see the reflection.
Definitely worried about Sherrod right now.
I'm a little worried too. Yeah.
Pretty worried. Yeah.
He's smiling though.
Yeah.
I don't think
it's like he's reading. It's like he's reading something that's really troubling. Yeah.
I'll be back, guys. I'll be back.
It's like that. Yeah. It's like Matthew McConaughey in Interstellar when he's like on the other side of the wall. He can see what's going on, but he's banging on the wall. He's starting to cry. That was Sherrod.
Yeah, that's great.
Anyway, Celtics won. How about that?
They did it. Defeated the Bulls. All is right for a night. And we're back at it.
Yeah. Big win.
Big win. We'll get to hear from what you guys think. It's there's there's a lot of we
are so back. We are back.
Yeah, and then there's this.
Hate him. What is that? Jeez, what is? Come on, John. Are these your burners? What's up with the? Wow, yeah. Second half, fourth quarter. What do we?
Yeah. So this is what happened.
Tay Bum. Someone just called him Tay Bum. Oh my God. Is this how
this is what I've been looking at all night. This is what we're looking at. He got doubled and tripled literally all the way down to the last 3 minutes of the game. They're up 18 and they're still doubling him.
Doubling him at half court.
So weird game for Tatum. Weird game in general because the KP is definitely going to be the story. KP had some really good comments earlier. We'll get to KP well. I thought Brown played well too. It was interesting because
White.
It looked like for a split second that Joe messed around with the rotations and switched it back. And we've talked about it the last few games and the last couple of weeks. But I think it was really more because Brown had 2 fouls, but Tatum ended up playing the whole first quarter. Then he just sat for a really long time. Then Jaylen got going, which I didn't think Jaylen could. I didn't think it was possible if he didn't play the first quarter for him to play well, but he did. And he's just really in the flow of things.
Roll.
He was creating his own shot. He was doing a lot of different things. Nope. No good. No good. I tried.
He's still like,
I tried. So that was great. KP was great, but yeah, Tatum struggled. We'll talk about Tatum for sure. Because it was weird. It was a weird game for him. Weird for a lot of ways. But if I come out here,
it's
going in on Tatum to start this game after they played a pretty, overall,
it's been a weird few games though for Tatum, not just this one.
Yeah.
I mean,
scoreless first half, last game, which it has, Jimmy.
I mean, I wasn't on the show for the Lakers game, but he finished with 16 in that one. So, I mean, some low scoring games here. 16 again tonight. So, I don't know if there's anything more to that. You had some thoughts in the text chain.
I always have thoughts in the text chain.
Sure, we'll get into.
I don't share all of them. Always. We'll get to Joe and we'll talk in a little bit.
It's great to see him kind of have a game like he did tonight, and for us to have a well-balanced game as well.
Joe, you've been going to Jaden a bit more. Considering that the defensive intensity for you guys hasn't been as consistent as it has been in the past, what kind of boost having him as an on-ball kind of like bulldog type of guy, what kind of boost is that giving you guys?
I mean, he's gotten a couple turnovers, some deflections, and just his on-ball defense. I think certain guys bring certain things to the table, and when he's out there, he makes everyone better around him defensively just because of his physicality.
You haven't had kind of like that wild card energy guy off the bench, and Peyton has done that in the past, but now he's such a big part of the rotation that he does more. Yeah. Is that an important element to have? Is just a guy that you can throw in there, and the other guys have to kind of like rise up to his level, even for short stints?
I mean, I think, Jaden is that, but I think they don't want to take away from what Peyton has done, what Luke has done, what Nimi has done, and I think those guys still do that. But, yeah, Jaden has kind of carved that little rollout to where he's on the floor. He just kind of brings the best out of everybody defensively. And, having a lot of those guys I think is important, yeah, for sure.
Joe, it looked like Drew was kind of fussing with his left wrist a little bit, and he didn't play much there in the second half. Do you have an update on Drew at all?
Yeah, he's fine.
He's fine.
Yeah.
Joe, you mentioned how you
I love that one.
More consistent, more better at some of the coverages you guys have been running, adapting to the team. How have you seen you guys grow back into having him in the lineup? I know you've mentioned like rebuilding habits and stuff. Like, how have you seen that adapt? Do you think it's where it was last year? Do you think there's still work to do? Obviously, he's been playing well lately. Like, how have you been pleased with that progress of integrating him back?
That was like
I'm
7
pleased with
questions.
the progress in it. I mean, we work at it in shoot-arounds, work at it on film, and the guys are working together to figure it out. So, I like where their process is, their mindset as far as, how they go about just getting better in it. So, it's an ever-flowing thing that we just got to work at every day, and they're getting better at it.
Joe, what do you think of the concept of shortening the NBA to 10-minute quarters? The commissioner said on a podcast that he liked the idea.
He's not going to answer this.
I don't care. I'm Joe. We're there, Joe. I don't care either. Next question.
Players that kind of reference to kind of the adjustments they've had to make to get used to Kristaps on both sides. What's that process like to kind of the comfort to get him back? I mean, it's nothing he's doing, obviously, but just getting used to playing with like a 7-2 guy who can stretch the floor is probably adjustment.
It's not so much about as playing with him. It's how people are defending him, how people treat him. And so the adjustment that we make is how people impact him because he has the ability to play inside and out. And so it's not so much that we got to get used to playing with guys, but we got to get used to playing. And that's for everybody, right? I mean, we got to get used to playing with guys depending upon how they're defending and attacking us. And so that is a residual effect of, okay, he's going to be matched up this way. This is the coverage. We're seeing this now. And so it's not him particular as much as it's what defenses are doing to combat our offense and how we have to continue to get better at, the different schemes that are there and growing at that.
How does it change things for you guys defensively? I know you've talked a lot about the adjustments offensively with him out there, but, him being back in the drop a lot, I guess him compared to Al, who was there to start the year. What are some of the differences you guys have to adjust to defensively?
Obviously his rim protection is there, but being in drop a little bit more, having an understanding of what those reads are, what that looks like. So just, we've done it before. We just got to continue at it.
There was a play in the second quarter, kind of a baseline inbounds there where Kobe kind of, broke free in the corner for a three. Is that kind of part of that process too? Because Kristaps is going to be back by the rim, maybe losing a guy there on the perimeter?
No, you just got to talk that one out. Thanks.
We back.
All right. Not really anything there.
Nope, not much there. But anyway, Joe answered Bobby, which I'm happy about. Yep,
yeah,
exactly.
Good day for Bobby.
That makes me feel good. And
maybe he missed Bobby. Bobby's been out for a few games. Maybe he missed.
Yeah.
Maybe he forgot that he was Bobby. It's like, who's the new guy?
Wonder if Bobby didn't have like his beanie on or something and didn't look familiar.
Maybe
anyways,
glasses on in disguise. Go ahead. Sorry, John.
Yeah, sorry, John.
I got nothing. I'm saving the good stuff. Yeah, not a lot there. The KP is definitely the story to start with, but it is interesting just kind of figuring out how they're going to play it. Because again, it's so, it felt less of a struggle to like figure out who was going to cook last season. It just kind of happened organically. And it does seem like it's almost always when it's somebody else has to kind of shut it down. So there is a little, like Porzingis, what did he score? 13 of the first 16 or something like that. It was a ridiculous start to the game. And yeah, the way Joe answered that, I think is entirely right. It's like, you got to see how they recognize it and they see what they're doing there and they think they can exploit that. It makes sense because he is the ultimate cheat code. If you're going to just get him, and also when he's just, striping it from 30 feet away, there's really not a ton you can do. But He's definitely the tone setter tonight for the way that the offense was playing, because he was unstoppable in the first.
And they're going to need that. I mean, because to your point, John, I think they're coming to the realization that the blueprint that won them a title is not the blueprint that's going to get them a repeat. They've got to figure out how to use the same pieces but differently and use it consistently and be successful. And Porzingis, to me, I think his role has to be of a significantly greater prominence, because he is the cheat code. He is the guy that teams are, I think, going to have problems matching up with, because if you put another big on him, he's got the ability to stretch the floor. And if you put a smaller guy on him, he can punish him down on the block. And he gives the Celtics an interior presence defensively that they don't otherwise have when he is not around. So, yeah, you need to find a way to utilize all those boxes that he checks off more consistently. Because the one thing, John and Jimmy, that when you look at the teams that have really kind of closed the gap with the Celtics, the one thing damn near all of them have done was they've improved their play on the perimeter. They've got guys who are a little bit bigger, a little more athletic. I think about the Atlanta Hawks. I think about just the way the Knicks are constructed now. And so that's going to make the challenge for Tatum and Brown to be dominant much tougher. But when you look at what have teams done to address the 7'2" inside-outside stretch big, crickets. Karl Anthony Towns in New York, maybe. That's about it. But the Knicks, they play their guys so many minutes that you're not as worried about them, because you figure they're going to probably be a little bit on the fatigue side of things once you get to the postseason. But the bottom line is this: Porzingis is a cheat code, and I don't think the Celtics go into the cheat code playbook as much as they should. And I think that's something that as we get closer to the playoffs, I think they're going to lean in that more.
He's been talking the talk and he's backing it up. He's walking the walk too. He's been the most vocal guy really on this team over this, little bumpy road, bumpy stretches they've been on here. He's holding people accountable. He's showing his frustration after losses, but he's also, the positive guy. And it's not like he's not giving up, nothing even close to that, but he's telling it like it is. And it's been refreshing to hear some of his post game or whether it's after a game or whether it's in practice. I think Bobby got some sound from earlier today that we might hear later. The big thing for me though with him is the 3-point shot is starting to fall. It's been falling, right? So that was the thing that
deep too.
Yeah,
deep.
Really deep tonight.
That one in the fourth quarter. Holy.
Yeah, 8. That was a nice little heat check. 8 threes tonight. I know it's a season high. I imagine it's got to be up there close to a career high. I don't know how many times he's hit 8. It's a high number. I know we kind of just like brush it off now, but that used to be a wild number. And really over I would say last 2-3 weeks, that outside shot is falling at a much higher clip than it was when he started, when he joined the team this year. That was the one thing that I was keeping an eye on. And if it's, whether it's 3 for 5 or, 4 for 6 or 8 for 14, starting to see the numbers at a much higher percentage where you want it to be. And so, yeah, I mean, whatever he can give you.
He's absurd. He's over 50% from 3 for the month. It's absurd.
Yeah, it's great. I think it's January 10th.
No, he's just under 49.2%.
Yeah. No, he's under. That includes tonight, I imagine, right?
Yeah, that one's factored in. At a certain point of the night, I think he actually ticked above 50 for this season, and then he missed a couple. But 49.2 for the month of January is absurd. From 3 there, and again, just overall the Porzingis numbers: 19 points, per game, rebounds 7.5, and he's shooting 50% from 3. That's ludicrous. So again, you figure everything else out, and that's going for you. Yeah. You're great.
100%. I'm agreed. I mean, and
it's not an outlier shooting night for Porzingis. Not the way he's been playing. He's crazy right now.
8 threes, sure, you hit 8. That's a bit of an outlier, but the point is that 3-point shot's starting to fall, and they're gonna want him to shoot that anytime he gets a chance. And he's not hesitating. I'm not hesitating to shoot it now. I mean, they're getting deeper and deeper. I think earlier in the season, he'd be a little bit more hesitant to shoot it, maybe pass it up. but it feels like he's playing aggressive out there. He's not thinking or overthinking things, certainly not on the offensive end. 11 boards tonight as well, three assists and 3 steals. I mean, unreal stat line for him. And, they call him the X factor. He's more than the X factor. You know what I mean? Like he's a huge part of this team's success. At this point, I mean, this team, I think last year you might have been able to get away, and they were able to get away with him in and out of the lineup. This year they aren't. They're not good enough to
But
get by with him out of the lineup.
overall process was good to start. If you're doubling Tatum, that's fine. He wasn't super offensively involved. Other guys did get it going. Porzingis was on fire, but I think they had 13 assists on their first 15 baskets or something like that too. So the ball was moving, and again, it just like felt better offensively. And you have that monster second quarter that was that really kind of set the stage. Everything after that was whatever. It was fine, but again, depleted Bulls team. It's hard to get too geeked about it,
of course.
But you're supposed to. They've struggled with this caliber of opponent. We'll give Jaylen a hat tip as well because I've been critical. Well, he was good tonight,
and that was talking Jaylen.
I liked him, and that was Jaylen. Let's move on. Jaden Springer played a good. No, we need an animation for that. That was talking Jaylen. We'll play it.
I was waiting for the blame pie to pop up any second now.
We'll play it.
John, that's why we created the brownie.
Talk for 30 seconds. Play the outro.
Yeah. No, shout out Jaylen.
He was good. He was good. And, again, to me, the most impressive stat of all the stats that he put up tonight was 0 turnovers. I think when Jaylen Brown is playing strong minutes, like 25, 30 minutes, and he doesn't turn the ball over once, you're not going to beat the Celtics. Yeah. If Jaylen Brown is not turning the ball over and he's playing major minutes, because he's going to be involved in some way, shape, or form. And if he's not giving you the ball back, that's a problem for you.
Again, it's the easiest thing to track. The turnovers are always indicative of how the offense is playing. It's not one of those nights where like, oh, today they were sloppy with it, or it's always a byproduct of too much ISO, too much dribbling, not enough movement. Always offensive fouls or guys just into traffic or too many bodies or being caught somewhere without a clue where they're going to go and throwing a bad pass. Always. And when it's not, you can tell that the ball's moving better. Only guy with more than one turnover in the night was Tatum, because again, I think he wanted to get in on the action. There wasn't, and he tried to force it a little bit. But other than that, nothing doing. They were terrific. And again, you want to talk about Brown, the 0 turnovers, terrific. If you want to go game by game, he's had 0 turnovers in 3 of the last 4 games. After that, the 5 turnover stinker against the Clippers. 3 of the last 4. He had 2 last game, but 3 of the last 4 games, 0 turnovers. That's Brown playing at his best, because it's taking advantage of matchups, being decisive, bullying his way. He had a drive late in that game that was just ridiculous. Just get out of my way, and just making that quick decision and doing things, doing things right. And I thought this was a good overall version of Brown. And I say this somewhat mocking, but not entirely. He did get flipped tonight because of the 2 fouls. He fell back into that old rotation he doesn't like as much. And I'm watching it happen. And like Scal even said the thing that Jaylen said is like, well, he's got to be more of a playmaker with his unit. And I don't understand that. Like, I don't understand it. I don't understand why with Derek White and Pritchard, and I think it was Luke and Springer out there, why Brown has to be deferential. Who the hell is he trying to get the ball to in that lineup? What is this thinking that with the second unit, he can't cook? Isn't it usually the opposite, where it's like, okay, dude, you gotta carry this offense here. And you've got White and you've got Pritchard, you've got ball handlers. So you don't need guys who have the ball in their hands or bringing it up or distributing it. Just give to him when he's got a matchup and he can cook, find people if he wants to find them, make the right reads. I don't understand the philosophy that that's a bad environment for him, like
I don't either.
to play in. I don't get. And then Scal said it too, and I was like, did they give you cue cards? Like, is this what Jaylen wants you to say? So you said it. It doesn't. I don't understand it.
It doesn't make any sense because with those lines, here's the thing: when you're on the floor, you want to play to whatever the strengths of are the players on the floor. When you're playing with Derek White and Pritchard, and your name is Jaylen Brown, ball handling, facilitating, that ain't your strength with that crew. That is not what they need from you. And to me, whenever he is trying to embrace that as what he needs to do when those guys are on the floor, you're doing more harm than good for the team because you're not being the best version of yourself in that moment. Pritchard, Derek White, they want to be facilitators because that's what they do when they've got an all-star who gets you 25 a night is on the floor with you. I think playmaking, obviously, it has to be part of Jaylen's hands, but I think it's like anything else. There's a time and a place when you need to lean into that. And when you're on the floor, if you're Jaylen Brown and those two guys are on and you're not Tatum's off the floor, you need to get buckets and get them quick.
Well, like you said last game, I mean, you could see how they missed Derek White, right, Sherrod? So Derek White's in the game tonight, takes a little bit more of that responsibility of the playmaking away from Jaylen. He can just kind of play more of his standard role, which is get buckets, right? You know, he can score as well or better than just about everybody in the league from all levels of the court on offense. You know, John mentioned the drive he had late in that game where it just didn't really matter who was in front of him. He was going to get to the hoop there and score. 3-point shot still struggling a bit, and that's been weird this year for me to watch. He took 5 tonight, but it's strange. Some games he'll take like 1 or 2 now, and we used to see him take 10, 12. Not saying I want him to do that, but I think when he talks about how his role has changed, I do think he's thinking about some of the types of shots that he's not taking or able to take just based on whatever he thinks his role should be now. But I mean, great stat line, 28, 6 and 6. I mean, you really can't beat that.
Yeah,
Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, I know.
No turnovers.
How's it going, guys?
Noah,
Noah?
Celtics. What's going on?
I only missed 1 game.
I know.
It felt like more.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll take it.
The viewers, the viewers were upset.
Were they?
They were
a little.
I rewatched the show, so
you chose.
They might have just been upset with me. Yeah, they might.
Yeah.
You might have been.
I did get a couple messages of like, "We really need you right now. Things are going haywire." I was like in Miami.
Yeah, it got
things got a little
doing
dark.
fine, and then I had to jump in, and then
hurtful things were said on Monday.
Things got dumber.
Yeah.
So Noah, tell us why you're excited that Tatum played poorly tonight.
So this always happens to me. Whenever I actually have a question I want answered, they don't notice me. I don't think Tatum played poorly. I think that people are not recognizing, like, he got double teamed until the buzzer sounded when he was the guy that couldn't make a shot.
We talked about it. It was all night. It was ludicrous.
It was mind-boggling. I've never seen
still
anything
doing
like
it down 18 with 2 minutes to play.
Yeah.
This is the thing. It's like all year, and since I started covering the team, I'm like, okay, these coaches know more than me. Like, I can't question NBA coaches because, like, who am I to question them? And then this Tatum doubling thing is going to be what changes my personality because I don't understand why they're doing it. Like, especially like tonight, he didn't have it, and other guys did, and they're selling out every possession. I don't understand it. It's so bizarre. What I say?
It's bizarre. Yeah, John's just I think he's changing his headphones or something like that. Noah, so wait. Why is it? You tell us. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, it worked. I think at their best, they're doubling him and he makes the right pass and roll, the other guys go off. And that's how they won the championship last year. And that's how they won this game. I mean, they weren't overreacting to Porzingis or Jaylen when those two guys were the ones that had it going tonight. I don't know.
Does that explain a little bit Jaylen Brown's performance or being able to free himself up for, 18 attempts tonight? Certainly he's had an up and down stretch here, but we were just talking about him as you jumped on, so I'm going to circle back to him. But it seems like sometimes, again, we've talked about how it's one guy or the other guy. It's not oftentimes, or at least recently, both. But if this was a night where Tatum struggled, at least good to see Jaylen Brown able to kind of step up and take advantage of the fact that more attention was being paid to Tatum.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it's been historically. I think Jaylen had a great game, though. He obviously had a tough finish. I rewatched the loss versus the Rockets. Like, he obviously had a tough finish there, and he's pretty good at bouncing back. I mean, the whole team is. That's why I think, what are they, 14-1 after losses this season versus, like, I forget the exact number, but it's not great after wins. But Jaylen's been a good example of that. I feel like every time the noise around him gets loud and, you know, the criticism gets loud and he's coming off of a game where he makes a bunch of mistakes, he normally responds with a good game. And this was one of those. And I don't think that the Bulls they did not impress me. I've been saying, like, I feel like there were a lot of teams this year
without
where
Levine too. I mean,
they're a tough watch.
It's hard. It's hard.
They're a tough watch. And the guys, like, we were talking about this on press row, but obviously, like, a lot of us are frustrated with the Celtics defensive strategy of leaving shooters open. Like, it's not fun to watch. Tonight it worked out because you have the kinds of guys like Josh Giddey, leave him open all day. I don't know what you guys lean on this, but, like, Dylan Brooks is not a guy that I feel that way about. He's had marquee moments. I don't know if people remember, but in the bronze game versus Canada, versus the US, like, he won the bronze medal for Team Canada because he got hot from three. Like, he steps up in these moments. So the strategy works better against some teams over others. Tonight it worked out. I still don't love it, but that Bulls team is a pretty tough watch.
Well, yeah, I mean, go ahead, Jimmy.
No, I was just gonna basically say what Noah said. Yeah, like, basically the Bulls, you can take that risk with the Bulls because there's not really that player that's gonna get hot like that. I mean, I love Lonzo Ball, but he's not that player, you know, offensively.
Not anymore. Not even close. No. Not even close. Yeah, the minute that Zach was on the report for not playing, that's when you knew that Celtics on an average night, doing what they do on an average basis, will win by 10, 15 points. Easily.
Yeah. He's not that guy, pal.
Not that guy, buddy.
Not even close. So,
was there something else in this one, Noah, that stood out to you besides Tatum?
It's probably not what I should say this early on, but I love
Jaden Springer minutes.
I love watching him play basketball. I love watching him play basketball. It is so fun. Like, when is the last time we've seen somebody play that kind of defense?
Avery Bradley.
Yes.
He's no Avery Bradley.
He's better than Avery Bradley.
What? No.
Defensively?
No.
I have to agree. I have to agree with Noah.
He's not better than Avery Bradley, dude.
I have to agree with Noah here in this one because
Noah didn't even say that.
It's almost surprising if he doesn't make an impact play on defense every time he's around the ball. Every time somebody tries him, not only do they not succeed, he messes them up. He does something to them. He causes a turnover, a bad shot. It's all over them, and he's a terrific athlete. So, I mean, I don't think it's that early because, look, what are the takeaways from this game? Porzingis continues to look great. You're starting to rethink the Jaden Springer trade conversation, and Tatum is cold as shit right now, and we can't figure out how to get both Tatum and Brown going in the same game. These are continued storylines, and I think all of them deserve time. And no, I don't think it's too early for Jaden Springer, but we're going to put it off just for 1 second while I tell everybody about Prize Picks. We don't have a big game this weekend, but the big game is coming up, and everybody knows what to do here. Sign up for Prize Picks, best place to get real money sports action. Over 10 million members, billions of dollars awarded in prizes. Pick more or less 2 players shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. And you don't have to wait for football. I know you guys are junkies and you love your football, but you can get in on the action. All hockey, all sorts of sports, mix and match, doesn't matter. Get in on the action now. You see the code on the
big game free pick, John. The big game free pick is a big thing for Prize Picks. It's
do we have it yet?
Oh,
we have Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes, more than 0.5 yards passing.
Oh, we've got the Mahomes. Okay, I didn't think we had the new You've got the Glengarry leads. Nice job.
Yeah.
So you got the good stuff. Okay, so check that.
It's a free square, guys. I mean, you can't go wrong.
Free square. Promo code CLNS. New users play 5, get 50 instantly. Once again, promo code CLNS. New users. All you have to do is download that app. Play 5, get 50 instantly. Prize Picks. Run your game. Yeah.
Game.
Yeah, run it. And let's talk about it. I'll do the Springer thing because I think the conversation changes. His interesting. But he did hit a 3, which was nice. Nice corner 3. He's got to be able to knock those down. He's going to get the minutes. It's the 20 minutes of action that he's playing on a night where you had all of your guards. And I know Holiday didn't play much in the second half. He might have tweaked something, but he got first quarter minutes and he got minutes throughout. All of a sudden, he's in the rotation on a night that you had your guards healthy. And I know you don't have Hauser tonight, but this is an interesting development, Noah.
It's very interesting. I know the trade deadline's a week away, and a part of me is like, this is definitely just a showcase.
Yeah.
And I really hope it's not, because I know I'm trying to be unbiased, but I really I think there's something there. When you watch him play defense, and there's other parts of his game that are not quite there yet. He is shooting the 3. He's at least attempting it, which gives you a level of he has a level of confidence with his shot, and he's hit some big ones. Obviously, the Clippers, was the best one, but even hit one tonight. But yeah, I could see it. I'm 50-50 on whether this is a showcase or whether this is he's finally earning some trust here. And the timing is a little suspect, which is why I'm a little bit nervous about it. But there's few guys. There's nobody on the team right now that can deflect balls, and play the kind of defense that he can play. And his legs are fresh. He's been sitting for the last few years, and he's young. So
Noah, you're on that 50-50 fence about whether he's showcase or he's earned it. I'm going to give you a hip check and put you on the side of showcase, because that's what's happening.
Wow.
I can't see what all of a sudden did Joe just wake up a couple weeks ago and decided hey,
look at how sad you made Noah.
You hip checked her.
Noah is tough as nails. Her sadness is a figment of your imagination. Jaden Springer has been showcased, Noah. I'm sorry to break the news, but that's what's happening.
I don't think Joe showcases.
This is what I hope happens, though. I hope that the Celtics get a bunch of underwhelming offers and they decide to keep him. That's what I ideally hope for. But
let me ask you this, Sherrod.
He's playing.
I have to agree with this, by the way.
He and the Celtics want to make sure that teams know that he can play. And you're right. He is making an impact. And to me, the thing I love about Jaden right now is when he gets into the game, he's the only guy that you're going to feel confident is going to have an impact and doesn't need to score a single bucket to do so. So every single guy that Joe puts on the floor, if they're not making shots, I'm not convinced they're going to make a difference in the game or not. Jaden is that guy. And we all know as you get deeper into the postseason and in the playoffs, you're going to need guys who can literally get on the floor, never touch the ball, and be difference makers. Jaden can be that guy. But I don't think they're doing it because of those reasons only. I think they're doing it to get off the tax bill that they're going to have to pay if they keep him around.
So that's
let me play devil's advocate to that point, because I think it's possible he's being showcased. The two things I think are not working in your favor on this argument is I don't think Joe's a showcaser. I think he plays his guys. I mean, I don't think in a game they're trying to win that he's just going to throw 20 minutes at a guy just because Brad said, hey, let's show people what this guy's got. Number two, I don't think it's any secret to anybody that Jaden Springer is an absolutely ridiculous defender, but can't shoot or play offensive basketball in a way that he can be a regular rotation player. So I don't buy the showcase. Number two, I also just don't think he's that tradable because of the offense, because when people are looking for something, that's a luxury item, a spark plug specialist coming off the bench that I might be able to use for a few key defensive stops when I need them. But who's going to trade for that sort of guy? When Brad got him, he probably had a plan. A couple of years from now, I might be able to use him for that purpose as my 10th guy to do that. Who's trading for a 10th guy right now or an 11th guy? And taking on payroll or giving up, picks or assets or whatever. I don't really know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure the showcase matters or I don't know if they would do it. And I don't think it matters. I think you know exactly who he is.
Yeah, I don't think it matters a whole lot either. And by the way, if they're just showcasing him because they want to save a couple bucks, then no Celtics fan in the world would be on board with that. Nobody wants that. And I don't think the Celtics want that. I really don't. I think at this point, I mean, the owner's not even going to be the owner soon. Why the hell does anybody even care who spends what? Just let these guys put the best product out there that you can and try to repeat. It's extremely difficult. You can't afford to lose more guys. Now, if they're trying to get another wing in here, maybe that's a different story and they feel like the guard isn't expendable. position, and Springer is who he is. And yeah, let's, show people that he can contribute and at least touch the court, because it's really, after him, they've been rotating through guys that they're trying to see if have NBA capability, and they've kind of missed on just about everybody else on that bench so far. So Springer has, good for him. He's shown that he can contribute on a winning team. Certainly he's a defensive-minded player. They're not counting on him to score. He is going to be the guy that's, when he's out there, is going to allow teams to double Tatum, though, right? Or to do things like that, because now there's a guy out there that can't shoot. I think it's another situation where it's like, if it's the playoffs, are we even going to see this guy if they're healthy?
Not right now.
Probably
but
not.
like, I think the thing with, Jaden right now is not an NBA playoff player on this team, but I don't know. Like, I don't want to I get fixated on a couple different skill sets, and his is one of those. Like, the ability to just deflect the ball and hound people. Like, he does things on any given night that I haven't seen in weeks in the NBA from watching, and I watch so many NBA games all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, that alone feels like it should be enough for him to find a role somewhere. And the question is, like, can he just do something on offense? And we're seeing glimpses of it. I mean, Tillman, when he checks into the game, I'm like, we're seeing nothing. I don't see anything optimistic. I was super bummed at his minutes.
So that's what I think happened. I think Tillman's taken his place on the, maybe we can trade this guy that we don't need.
That's going to be a tough trade, though, because he hasn't really shown you anything this season.
Tillman,
nothing.
I mean,
and he's around next year. It's a 2-year deal.
Yeah.
He totally lost his
hanging
confidence.
out.
And Springer had one play where he passed up a corner three and went to the basket and got blocked. And it's like, it was a perfect example of why these guys need to just shoot when they're open. Because both him and Tillman have had these plays where they just pass up like a medium good look and then go to the basket, and it's like they have no plan. And that's Joe's biggest pet peeve, is doing
put
that.
that away. Springer gives them something that they're not getting from anybody else.
Yeah.
Springer gives them something that they're not getting from basically anybody else right now, and that's like energy, effort, defensive tenacity. I think Joe likes putting him out there and hopes that maybe it's contagious. And that happens when you go.
That's what he said.
The guys play in a certain way that can kind of spread to the rest of the guys out there in the court. They need that little bit of a spark, that energy. It's kind of like the flip side of what Pritchard used to give you on offense. They'd bring him in when the offense was kind of flat. He'd go in there, we call him Sparky. He'd score like 9 points in 2 minutes and then take him out. And now he's got a much bigger role. I see Springer kind of as like the inverse of that, where it's like they're flat on defense, toss Springer in there, let him hound some guys. And maybe that, sparks the team on the defensive side or in transition or something like
that. So let me ask you this question. This is to all of you. Let's all pack our bags and jump on the Jaden Springer Express. Okay?
All right.
Woo!
Noah's driving.
Okay, Noah's driving. We're on the Jaden Springer Express. Now, here's the thing. We're putting together the rotation and guys going to play. Oh, wait a minute. Someone can't quite be on the train among the rotation, because if Jaden is playing now, that means someone else is either not playing or playing less. Who's going to take the cut? Is it Sam?
I think it's across the board.
Sam, who's Sam?
Yo, relax.
You think everyone is going to lose like 4 or 5 minutes so that Jaden can get 20?
Yeah. And I don't know if he needs 20 minutes right
I don't think. Yeah, he's not getting 20. Sure.
I mean
this is a 20-point win.
He's little guy Luke. Okay, that's all he is. He's little man Luke. You're looking at Luke minutes. 10 to 12.
15.
Like you can do that and still you can play Luke 10, 12 minutes when you have Porzingis and Horford there, and those are fine. They're welcome minutes. Because I actually don't know what Luke gives you, but I do know what, like,
other than lemon squares and no.
What? Luke just had a great game.
Luke has been good the last.
I'm not
saying that. Game last game.
He's not a specialist like Springer. With Springer, you're looking specifically for one thing, and that's energy. And look, Noah made a good observation on, she writing for Celtics blog from the Dallas game, taking advantage of really primo seats there, basically courtside, made an observation that Joe Mazzulla, who seems so obsessed with offense, during the game and timeouts, he's just barking about the D, all game long. And so, he has to be concerned with lack of defensive effort, even if he's not going to talk about it or address it in the media, he sees what's going on. And I definitely think that Springer to him is almost kind of like all right, assholes, you won't do it. Watch what this guy does, you know? And then he goes there and does it. And it's kind of like, oh, it's like you can actually be a tone setter if you're a player like that and you're playing with the big guys. They see somebody flying around like that. They're like, oh, shit, I should probably be playing this hard, you know, as well. So I actually do like that energy that he's bringing in there, because in a weird way, it might lift some people around him, because we've seen too many times where that defense falls flat. Last year, you counted heavily on Holiday and White. They've been kind of in and out a little bit this year too with their defensive effort, just not as consistent, or maybe they've been slightly hobbled. Springer brings it every second. And one of the places I think the Celtics suffer the most, and this dovetails perfectly off of the thing we had a huge issue with last time, is the passivity that they play defense with, just letting guys get where they want to go, conceding certain types of shots. Springer's just up on you all the second you cross half court, he's there and he picks you up and he puts heat on you. That's the kind of defense you want to see from these guys. So there might be a role, at least for now, until other people start showing that they're doing it too.
Yeah, but again, I think, John, and I think we all agree with this, that Springer has benefited in terms of getting opportunity, because guys that normally make shots aren't making the shots that they normally make. And Joe was looking for something to jumpstart this team. And typically they've been a team where they've allowed their offense to get them going. And if that's not functioning well, you got to try something new. And to me, this is like, well, we don't have anything to lose. Let's just throw him out there, see what happens. And I give him credit. He's leaning into what he does best that can benefit this team, similar to how, again, I mentioned Avery Bradley earlier. This is what Avery Bradley did. He just basically harassed the hell out of whoever was in front of him, knowing damn well he's probably not going to get any shots.
And then the shot came.
And then the shot came, right.
Yeah, he'd get his points running baseline, backdoor cuts, get some easy ones, and all of a sudden he started knocking down some corner threes, and he became a really serviceable player. But yeah, in the beginning he was all defense. He couldn't dribble worth his life either, but he became a really serviceable all-around player. But yes,
cutter.
That's what I mean. He was running that baseline, getting those easy cuts all game long. Really good stuff from him. So yeah, I mean, there's hope for Springer. I think when Brad traded for him, I think Avery Bradley's very much the type of comp that he was thinking about, which is like, John, this guy might become something a little bit.
Action bends. Can we now play the audio from last show when John yelled at someone in the chat for suggesting that Springer should play more? Is that true, John? Did you yell at somebody?
It's possible. It's possible. I yell about a lot of things.
Nothing personal. Person who was yelled at.
No, but I fully agree. The minutes are hard to find, but if you're because again, with Pritchard, how much Pritchard's playing and having White and Holiday, short of an injury, you're gonna again, if Hauser was in there, that window for Pritchard gets smaller because Hauser's gonna play too. I mean, that window for Springer gets smaller. It is a math equation. There's no question about it. But there is there's usefulness to him that before I was like, oh, what's the point? You know, it's not gonna happen. Just trade him. You're not going to use him. He's certainly not in the playoffs. And how much? A game or two as a specialist coming up for a defensive spark. But I'm talking myself into it. This was more impressive to me than the game where he hit all of the shots, because he played as many minutes as he did, and he was so friggin' disruptive all the time. And I do think that that's what they're dying for right now. So, they trade. Going to be sad. He sits for the next 8 to 10 games. I'm not going to be sad, but I definitely see that there's a spot where Joe might try to get him in there because of this, because he's bringing a lot of what they're lacking right now. And I would have put that comment up even if you didn't pay $5. Thanks, Action Benz. Though he's one of the guys hangs out for.
Yeah, thank you.
He's been.
I don't even think it was his. He's defending somebody else in the chat. Yeah. Look at that.
Yeah, I may have.
That's sticking together.
I like when you guys do that. We talked about at the top of the show, Kristaps Porzingis once again being a different maker. I feel like this is almost every game in January, we've spent time saying like, well, shit. I mean, isn't this crazy? We're not super satisfied with the way that this team is playing because of, in and out, weird defensive, effort, Porzingis had some comments I'm going to play later about, communication and stuff like that. And, just seeing a little bit too much of my ball, your ball. And we didn't think that was going to be a problem. One of the wild cards entering the year is Porzingis going to be okay? He's totally okay. It's not even a question anymore. Fluke injuries or whatever happens to him because he's, 7'3" and, those guys tend to get hurt. You can't control that, but he looks all the way back. Here he is talking about his super hot start tonight and the Celtics' overall defensive effort.
Yeah, I mean, we honestly, this is enjoy starting the game off aggressively, and last game I just, shot a trail 3, which, it looks kind of ridiculous for some 7'3" guy running up in the court and just, but my rhythm is really good and I feel the shot really good, so I'm trusting myself to make that shot, and these guys are trusting me and just pitching it back to me, and I'm letting it fly. And I enjoy having these hot starts, getting the team off to a good start, and I look forward to keep this momentum going. Our defense?
Yes.
I think it's not bad. I mean, we have some lapses. We have a little bit lapses sometimes, but honestly, it's true that I feel like sometimes our defense kind of goes also with our offense, but now as we're having a good offensive rhythm, with defensively we also kind of we feel good, feel better, feel more energetic. So I think it's pretty good. Yeah, and you had a couple 25-point quarters today, I think at least. So yeah, keep going this way.
Yeah.
KP.
Yeah. Facts,
my dog.
He's been really good. Really good.
I think he's playing the best he's ever played on the Celtics. I think this is better than he's ever played last year. For the stretch.
For a stretch, yeah. He didn't have a stretch this good for this long last year.
Yeah. So that's awesome. I mean, that's we were talking about.
Is he the most beloved player on the Celtics right now?
The gap between Derek White and everyone else is closed. The gap between Derek White and everyone else is closed because of Porzingis.
That's true. Yeah, it was Derek White.
You think it was White before?
It was Pritchard. It was Pritchard for a hot second. It was Derek White. It might be Porzingis. I think Porzingis is inching ahead here. Yeah.
It's subtle things like when he does something in game and he just looks at the crowd.
Yeah, he gets people fired up. He likes to play to the crowd.
But
that's what people want, man. Give the people what they want.
But I'm not even saying the low key non-J player. I'm saying I'm including them because it's amazing.
We know you are.
The love-hate, it's not just me. The love-hate people have with these guys. They love them and they're frustrated as hell by them all the time.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of frustration.
Speaking of Jaylen Brown, he's at the podium if you care.
I do.
How have you seen you guys this year with KP compared to last year and your first year with him?
Yes, there's been some changes, some integrations. Obviously it's been injuries, but this year is different from last year. Teams are guarding is different, and the league is kind of making adjustments. So we just got to be versatile, and be willing to let the game kind of dictate what we do. But tonight was a good example. We played with pace. We got open looks. We didn't turn the ball over, and we just got to keep building on that.
You say teams are guarding you differently. What are you seeing? How they're guarding you differently, and how do you think you guys have adapted to that so far?
I think they're trying to get us off the three-point line. I think we shot the ball astronomically last year. So this year teams are, trying to, force us into tough threes or get us off the three-point line. And we just got to balance it, when to shoot it, when to drive it, get into the paint. Because it's a lot different when you make the defense collapse and kick it out versus just passing it around in the perimeter.
Jaylen, it seems like you've been more assertive, driving the ball and posting up and just punishing whoever's under you. What goes into that when you're just okay, I'm going to take whoever's guarding me, Kobe White, Lonzo Ball, and I'm just going to take you to the rim?
Yep, just using my physicality and just getting my legs up under me. Being at home has been good for even this stretch, just to be able to get some recovery and stuff on my body. But, just being able to be, physical night in and night out, just getting my body ready to go so I could take those blows and those hits and be able to deliver something back. But tonight I felt good getting to the paint. Chicago's a physical team, but, if you throw the first punch, it's hard to recover. So I thought we came out swinging. KP came out the gate, lighting them up, and we kind of just kept it rolling from there.
You've been optimistic about you guys getting kind of things together. I mean, what's that? I mean, a game like this, what does that do for you to just see everything clicking? You're still not completely healthy, but just to see how well you guys.
It's just building habits. It's just building great habits. It's a journey. Growth doesn't always look like this like straight linear line. Sometimes it's like, it's ups and downs. So we just gotta navigate that, and it's just all tests. And like if you you just gotta stay with it. Can't complain. Don't let it break your spirit, because in the end, we want to just be playing good basketball going in towards the playoffs. So, I'm not discouraged. I feel good about our guys in the locker room, our coaching staff, our front office. We just gotta keep building the right habits, keep being versatile, and keep learning from these experiences, and I think we'll be okay.
Can you speak to the importance of Peyton Pritchard's role as a facilitator and a playmaker off the bench as well as with the starting unit, and how it aligns with the team's success?
Peyton's influence has been great for us. He's been a spark off the bench. Obviously his shooting ability. He's shotting the ball well this year, incredibly, and that's all credit to him and his work ethic. It's tough to do that, come off the bench, and just be ready to go, every single night. I think he's still pretty clear ahead of the pack for Sixth Man of the Year. And anytime he's on the floor with me, I'm always looking to get him going. I found him a couple times tonight. But him just shooting the ball well, stretching the defense, bringing energy to the game, is important for us. So Peyton's been having a fantastic year. We just got to keep it rolling.
Jaylen, how have you noticed Kristaps in year two maybe start to use his voice a little more, kind of just become more comfortable, communicating with you guys? He said this morning that he feels like sometimes it feels like you guys lack communication a little bit and you got to be more vocal. Have you kind of noticed him help with that?
I mean, that's what I would love to see. I would love KP to, be more vocal, speak more. I'll try to empower that as much as we possibly can. But, when KP is communicating, and everything's clear on offense and defense, I think we're better for it. So, I encourage it, and we give him all that space to do that because KP is important to our team. So, him taking more of a leadership role is excellent.
Bobby Manning with the walk-off question.
Bobby.
I want to talk about that because
massive night for Bobby.
Porzingis did address that early.
We lose John?
Did we lose him?
John? Wait, so you couldn't hear him the same way?
Yeah.
Oh, John, we can see you.
Am I here now?
You're here.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know what happened.
And now you're not.
Yeah.
Or you're
you got me?
Yeah, every time you're about to speak, it freezes.
Or I'm not.
What?
All right, I'm going to do this instead. We're going to hear from KP in a minute.
This episode is also powered by Game Time, the best place to get tickets to the games, events, and concerts you want to see. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Game Time is filled with terrific features like all-in pricing, so you know exactly how much you're paying. No surprise fees at checkout. You also get panoramic views from your seats in the app, so you know exactly what you'll be looking at before you buy. Plus, a lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Once again, download that Game Time app, create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. What time is it? It's game time.
Okay. John doesn't look great right now. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. And he's muted on top of it all. Just a messy situation over in the Zannis house right now. It's just thumbs down all around. You're still muted.
He's not trying to be unmuted, Jimmy.
I know, but I feel like he's trying something.
No, not really.
He's not.
It's Jimmy. Point.
It's on me.
Come on, Peyton Pritchard. Come on, Sparky.
All right,
let's
here
go,
we
Sparky.
go. I'm the captain now, folks.
See, let's go, Sparky. Let's get it going.
Jaden Springer coming in off the bench here, playing some defense for a few minutes.
You better make a shot, damn it. Damn it.
It's all good. But we were talking about a little bit of Porzingis, and or Jaylen Brown was talking a little bit about Porzingis, and I think that's where maybe we were going to go back with it. I'm not entirely sure.
Well, no, I think we should. I mean, the stuff that Jaylen was saying about him, just the vocal dynamic of Porzingis, I think that is so hard for a guy that wasn't drafted by the Celtics, that hasn't been here for a long time, to figure out his place in space with this group. And it's not even so much where you've got, big brother telling you, don't you say anything, KP. It's more like, I don't really know you guys, and you guys don't really know me. And let's be honest, KP, he hasn't been in a lot of situations where he had the benefit of wisdom and being a vocal, talkative kind of guy. And the thing around here with these guys is they want everyone to have a voice in that locker room, in the huddle, on the floor. When you think about the guys that have been here in the last 4 or 5 years that had trouble kind of really finding their niche, guys like Time Lord, who phenomenally talented player when healthy, but he had some issues early on, just trying to be more vocal, and guys were trying to get him to be more of a talker on the floor. And Porzingis, I don't think it was necessarily a problem. I think it was just more about just finding your comfort level to where you knew when was the right time to speak, when to just kind of sit back and let everything kind of marinate, and then when to just, really let guys know when they're not being great, and do it in a way that's not being an asshole about it. And I think Porzingis has done a really good job of just figuring that out. And he right now, he is at the apex of being a Celtic. He's already has a championship. His game is trending in the right direction, and he's slowly emerging. Jimmy, you made a point earlier, and I think it was a good one, about he's not really an X factor anymore, because X factors are unknown quantities. There's nothing unknown about a 7'3" stretch big who can get you 20 in about 10 minutes. Right. Like tonight, he had 34 and 33 minutes. So it's not. So he can get it going in a hurry. And the Celtics, again, I just think they need to continue to find ways to get the most out of all that he has to offer, because he clearly has a lot left in the tank. And not only in terms of what he can do for himself statistically, but also the role and impact he can have on others on his team.
Yeah, and the other reason why he's not an X factor is because he's just too important to be just the next factor, right? I mean, they're counting on him now because of the way he's playing. He's stepping up into that larger and larger role on the court and now off the court. And I think that's an adjustment for him too, because when you look at his career arc, right, it's been on, disappointing start to his career in New York. Things didn't go well in Dallas, goes to Washington, and then on the court starts to turn it around a little bit, but not playing for a winning team and not really
probably team he was on.
Not probably really needing to do a whole lot as far as leadership goes. And now he's playing more consistently. He's a huge part of what this team does on the court, and he probably feels maybe for the first time in his career like he can talk. He can say how he feels about how his team is playing and what they need to do better and differently. And he is kind of embracing that little bit of a leadership role. And Jaylen Brown said, taking on that leadership role. Yeah. And I think we do have Bobby and Noah.
I think we do.
Give me a thumbs up if you guys are good to go here. We got one.
We got two.
We got two. All right. Let's add them. Let's see what we got here. All right. Bobby, Noah. Bobby, we'll start with you. Noah already graced us with your presence, but Bob, you've been in I think you were in the locker room at least, and you were in the podium. What can you tell us coming out of those things that you learned today?
Yeah, I think we just talked to Derek. I know you guys heard Jaylen, and for Derek, I think banged his shin in that game that he got going a couple nights ago. What game was that now? The one before the Bulls game, whichever night that was, where
Lakers.
Yeah, he got himself rolling a little bit. Dallas, where he got going in Dallas. There went on the fight, didn't feel great. Took the night off on Monday, and I think probably a big part of his reemergence here. And he said he's not getting on a roll yet. It's just a couple games, but I think him going in the right direction here is getting healthier. I think that's a big part of it. I'm glad he's able to get a night off. I'm glad in this game, starters able to reel their minutes back a little bit. I know Tatum was questionable for this one as well. He only played 31 minutes in this game. So I think that's going to be important for them as they get closer and closer to the All-Star break here and then get to the All-Star break. Scaling back some minutes, getting some more wins like these where you're not playing guys deep into the fourth quarter. I know they played most of the fourth here, but minutes overall down a little bit in this one, which I liked. I feel like, especially that game where Tatum and Brown played the full second half rotation against Houston there on Monday, just showed that these minutes are starting to get a little out of control. And I'm sure that's part of some of the shooting struggles and some of the fatigue that we're seeing from this group. And, even Porzingis in the locker room said he didn't feel at his best coming into this game. It ends up having the career or, best night of the season. But I think there is some fatigue in this group heading into the All-Star break. I know Billy Donovan even talked about that before the game too, because he was part of experience going back-to-back with Florida. A little bit of a different circumstance there, and they actually were better in the second year overall, but they had a big lapse at the end of that regular season that he talked about as well. So I liked the energy in this one. I feel like overall the intensity and the ability to get baskets, they kind of went back and forth a little bit for stretches there. So I'm still not feeling great about the defense. I know Porzingis is pretty high on it, thinks it's just about where it needs to be. But you still, John, saw that second quarter play. I know NBC cut it off a little bit, but they're guarding the inbounds and they lose Kobe White in the corner and the bench was freaking out and he ends up shooting a wide open three. A lot of layups in this one. So they did what they needed to do tonight, but Levine being out and this being a pretty lackluster Chicago team doesn't make me think that they're about to get on a roll here.
Hey, look, if you paired this with other games, it's a roll. Doesn't matter. Like you just got to, we talked about it last game. Last year, they had like 9-10 winning streaks of like 6-7. They just had so many times where, all right, they'd play bad a little bit and then they just rip a few. You just got to do it. Let's see a few.
No,
more.
They took care of business tonight.
I don't want to I don't want to see these guys limp to the All-Star break and then just be like, oh, they needed this break. Like, let's go now. Do it now. Get the next one and then the next one. And I don't want to hear like, oh, this team was tough and they're on the road for this and they were out. Just go. Last year they beat teams missing two guys multiple times. Enough. Just do it.
They're gonna get some best shots coming up here.
Oh, shut up. I definitely don't want to hear that. Not you, them. Like no best shots. Nope. Yeah, all right, here, let's wait.
Didn't expect that.
No best shots. No, well, yeah, exactly. Like, oh, well, good. He'll never do that again. And, no traffic.
Yeah, no more excuses.
And honestly, I don't. My latest one I don't want to hear is there people are defending us differently. Great. So do something. Play basketball.
That team played with great effort, John.
Oh my God! Effort. Do you mean the other team scouted you and
this
then
is their Super Bowl?
Tried to figure out a way to play you differently, and then played hard? I can't believe that.
The team plays hard, John.
I don't want any of those. String them together.
What are we talking about here? Pelicans Friday. That's a game.
They're going to play hard.
Trouble. 76ers. They keep having nobody and keep figuring out ways to win with.
You can only win when you get a team's bad shot. They both didn't give them their best shot tonight.
Wounded teams are dangerous, John. Wounded teams are dangerous.
Bobby sees 3 losses coming up. He just looked at the schedule. He sees 3 losses.
Well, I just want them to get through those 2 games because guys are going to be out for those teams. There's going to be plenty of reason to overlook them.
Let's just get through one. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, right. And that was a tough game last time for them. So that should be a win, I would think. But I just can't guarantee anything. Even this. Right. And that's why, I felt really good about tonight. I felt really good about tonight because no Levine, and they're just down so bad at that point when that guy's out. So I felt really good about it, but you're still just not sure with them right now. And then, they go up 10-0 and they gave up that big run later in the quarter and end up going down again there. So there were some lapses in this game. They end up running away in the second half, and it's a good shooting night and all that. And Porzingis goes crazy, and you should feel good about him right now and what he's doing. But there's still some games up ahead where I'm like, all right, don't overlook those guys. Don't look ahead to Cleveland. Try to stack something here. And that's what, Noah, do you feel like they're about to stack a bunch of games here through the break? Or are we still going to see the win-loss thing we've been seeing?
I think they're going to stack them, but honestly, I've thought that a couple times already, and it hasn't happened. So my gut instinct, I'm not really following it. I was pretty sure after the road trip that they were going to come out and beat Houston and win like 4 or 5 in a row. And they almost did, but they didn't, right? I do think the fact that they lost to Chicago and they lost to the Pelicans earlier this season, or didn't lose to the Pelicans, but like almost lost to the Pelicans. And they lost the 76ers. So it's like they're not going to really overlook those teams when they literally Christmas Day, like I think that was one of the worst losses of the season. So that gives me faith that they're not going to do that thing that they do, that teams kind of just downplay the opponents when they look at them and assume that it's going to be an easy win. So I think it's coming. Like Porzingis said it, Jaylen said it, like they've maintained this level of confidence that I don't think it's just for show. I think it's reflective of how they feel and how the temperature is in the locker room. And they are 14-1 after losses, or 15-1 after this one. So it's pretty remarkable. It's just a question of like, can they just be consistent for 4 or 5 games? I think it's going to give them a different level of confidence if they're able to do that. These are obviously NBA players, but like I do think that we overlook, like they lose confidence too. And I think that they need that streak.
So we do say they a lot, and I don't disagree, but like I do think we got to look closely. Like, where is it? Like, where's that coming from? Because I do still think this has been my biggest gripe recently. People are kind of in their feelings about like what's going on with them right now, and like you just want to see it kind of pull back together in some way. Like, I don't want to turn this into a bash session, but I did think, again, while a team played with pretty good energy, really good efforts from Jaylen Brown and Porzingis, great, energy minutes from the bench, you dug deep and you got guys like Springer and Drew Peterson minutes, everybody's pulling together, chipping in. And then you got Jason Tatum, who looked like they were down 30 most of the game. Body language, forcing his shots when they didn't need to try to get himself going. I know he was getting doubled and stuff like that, and he hates it. But coming off the 0-point first half, and then in this game as well, even a couple cutaways to him on the bench, he's just like, I think he's really upset that it's not falling for him right now. And I know Brown's had those issues as well. And I do feel that that's a drag on the rest of the team sometimes. I kind of want these guys to either just start playing better and then it'll happen organically, or just kind of live with the bumps, here, because I do think that that's setting them. I think that's setting them back some here. It's just every game, somebody's not feeling it. And tonight it felt to me like it was Tatum a little bit, and could be just frustration with the double teams, or I don't know what, but he seemed off again tonight. And again, the numbers are bad right now. I mean, they're bad in January. It's bad. I mean, he's shooting really poorly right now and he can't find it. And I think he keeps searching for it, and it's affecting him throughout the game.
I think a couple things.
Yeah, and I saw that too, John.
Did you see that, Bobby? I didn't know if it's just me. He looked miserable, and he's not a really peppy, smiley, energetic guy. He just looked all game long. It looked like he was having the worst game of his life, and everybody and they were getting blown out in the most important game of the season. Instead of like, oh, we're rolling now, and just kind of
The one that stuck out to me was when he hit the buzzer beater there, and it was more like, oh, like there wasn't a guy. Pritchard ran over to come celebrate with him, and he was just more like, oh, I finally instead of like, yeah. So that was the one that stood out to me. But yeah, I saw it too. And then of course he, forced the first shot that Vucevic blocked, and it was not an even night for him. And he did play the whole first quarter, whether it was due to foul trouble or them switching up that rotation again. So got plenty of runway there to get going, and never really worked. But yeah, they were doubling him all night, and he had to make the passes out of that. And that's obviously going to benefit Porzingis, who did talk about it a little bit here. I know. Did we get that clip yet? I enjoyed it too. I know our producer did.
Which?
We have a
KP one.
Porzingis.
Oh yeah, we can play KP. And again, this was. Tell me what we read into this. Is this?
No, this is looks like it's just a little clip.
What?
Porzingis.
This is Porzingis after the
paused.
game talking about how Tatum just had to pass it to him every time.
What? Where's that?
Just hit it.
This is Porzingis after the game.
Yes,
I have a Porzingis pre-game clip also. I don't want to play the wrong one.
It looks like it's
play the
paused.
one post game.
It says Porzingis pause.
Yeah, play that.
Yeah, that's it.
Games, they just completely take away, for example, my three, and then every basket I have to like earn with meat, and like that maybe with force. Maybe that crowd sounded crazy, but like.
What? That's the.
I'm
That
such
was
a
pretty
big
good.
KP fan now, man.
What'd you say?
I'm a huge KP fan. He just.
I just want
irritates
him.
me. Every
We
time
should
I
just
see
have him talk for 30 minutes after every game instead of 3 different guys for 5 minutes apiece.
He's so freaking entertaining.
He is. He's got a big role in this team now. So
We spent a lot more time trying to figure out how to play that bite than the bite itself. What was good about it? What was good about it again?
it was a.
Jackson
I think it was a pause.
When
it was a pause.
When they double Tatum, he's gonna shoot a ton of threes. But when they don't double Tatum, he's got to score with meat.
Yeah. So that was talking about Tatum. So our buddy over our John Corrales over at Boston Sports Journal wrote that recently that Jason Tatum's got to stop doing that. And this has been a problem. He is when the offense isn't flowing naturally, he tries to shoot his way out of it by just gunning threes as opposed to working hard for the offense and showing a bunch of clips where he's got opportunities and driving lanes where he could create something more easily. Jimmy gets it. But he's not taking it. He's trying to shoot his way out of it, which he does quite a lot. I found it pretty bizarre at the end of this game in the fourth quarter when they were up 18, 20 points that Tatum was relentlessly trying to score. There was that one possession where he did end up getting fouled, but he got locked up and he dribbled like 47 times I'm getting this shot off. I haven't had it. I haven't had a chance. I've been doubled all night. Here's one guy on me and I'm going to shoot no matter freaking what. In an 18, 20 point game, it just didn't really make sense, but he's constantly searching for it as opposed to just playing and letting things come to him naturally or, in the regular flow of things. Like, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with getting doubled and just letting everybody else cook? There's nothing if that is what's happening. Or when it's not happening, work for your buckets. Don't just shoot and hope they go in. We see too many of those games from him right now.
Yeah. Because he was fine with this in the playoffs, Noah. I wonder if there is something of like, all right, when the games really matter, I'll do this and it's, fine. But during the regular season or whether you're trying to compile some sort of resume or statistical output, it can get frustrating to have to do that again and again because I feel like I'm trying to remember, but that Rockets game, I feel like he handled it well. This game, it didn't look as great visually, but I still feel like he handled it well in terms of the passing. But the problem is they can't get his shot off through the course of that. And, you end up just having some wasted shots over the course of a game like that. So I do wonder, Noah, if we're going to see more of this just because it does seem to throw the Celtics off a little bit. The bad part is that Brown can just go downhill and score at will at that point like he did tonight. So it's going to take a special defense. No, that's the good part is that he can pick up the slack on most nights. Obviously, the Houston game, he wasn't able to. But I feel like that more than anything is how you can throw off this offense a little bit is just try to completely take away Tatum. And the Rockets, and Ime obviously knows him better than anybody in his strengths and weaknesses. They went to the next level in terms of trying to do it. So it's a tough balance, John, because we hated it in the playoffs for Dallas, right? we thought it was the dumbest thing ever that they did that. But now that the shooters aren't doing as well around him, and especially in that game, though, where they had Tillman and Springer and whoever else out there, it makes more sense to take Tatum
The
out
reason I wouldn't do it, Bobby, is because of the second part of his game, which is sometimes you'll force him into settling for the tougher shots instead of working hard and just beating single coverage. And that's why I wouldn't double Tatum until he forced you to. I would dare him to get on a heater, and then I would start doing it. When teams do it to start, I don't actually understand that strategy. But Noah, you were going to say?
No, a couple things on this whole topic. So one, Tatum's body language consistently subpar. Like since I started covering him last year, I've been kind of surprised that that's always his body language. Win, loss, he's playing well, he's not playing well. It wasn't good today. I'm totally on board with that. But it's always hard to me when that becomes a talking point, because there have been games where he has 40 and he's sitting on the bench, and I'm like, why does he look like that? Like, I genuinely don't know. And it's been pretty much every night. So I think like some guys, like when Derek White has his head down, I'm like, it's worth thinking about his body language because it's so different than what it normally is. Or Sam Hauser sometimes gets really overtly down. Tatum and Brown, I don't know what to make of it because they kind of always have a pretty just down vibe on the bench. So that's just a point I wanted to make. But as far as the doubles and things, everybody knows nobody likes getting doubled. Nobody enjoys it. Anthony Edwards sounded off about it. There's the famous clip of Devin Booker at pickup, right? Why are you guys doubling me? I'm trying to play basketball. Everybody knows it's not fun. You'd rather play one-on-one basketball, especially if you're a scorer, which all these guys are. I think Tatum, though, has been really effective in that role, more so than most other superstars. And part of it is that he can't quite impose his will and just like score when he wants to one-on-one the way that some stars can. Like, I do think that that's kind of what has separated him from being like an MVP caliber player. But at the same time, he has totally bought into this role. And so I don't like the idea of like speculating, like, is it getting to him? Because he had everything that he always says, like he has pretty much for the last year been super consistent on the fact that he's comfortable in this role. He's going to do what's best for the team, and we see it. Like, he's getting blitzed. He's finding the open guy. He's so adept at it. And that's why it's always shocking to me when teams will do it. And that's why I always think that the most important thing about the Celtics team is not really his field goal percentage. Obviously, we want him to shoot well. Everybody benefits from that. But it's why these other guys are so important. Like, Derek, Drew, Kristaps, they're non-negotiable. Like, they have to be effective for this team to do what they want to do.
You're not wrong, Noah. The thing you hit on, I want to ask everyone else about it, because you said, I've said this before too, that he's not like one of those guys who's just going to, it always comes easy for him, the scoring. He does have to work at it, right? Like not like one of those superstars that just kind of lights it up all the time. I think for Tatum, he does have to work. So the question comes, like the question to me is sometimes he just frustrated that it's not coming easy, and that he wants it to, and then that gets him out of the game. And the body language thing, I agree. He's just not one of those guys. It's less about how he's looking on the bench, and it's more about just not getting back on defense after a miss, throwing his hands up after a make, complaining on clearly non-contact plays on makes, looking for and ones and taking himself out. It's like his whole existence on the court is a big grievance that he's always either dissatisfied with his own play or with everything going on around him. That's what I can't get, is like, it's not that bad, man. Does he have to be absolutely flowing and draining everything to not be that way? That's what I mean. It's like,
I've seen him that way when he is draining everything. That's my point, is that I don't know how much it's indicative of anything that he's feeling, or like, again, it's something that I was a big surprise to me when I started covering this team. I was like, why does he always look like that? And that's why during the Olympics, people were zooming into his face and they were like, look how miserable he looks. And I'm like, no, that's just his face. Like,
no, that's how he looks. Yeah.
It's baseline. I think it's an energy level thing.
It's more about the approach than it is the actual, like, the body language. When it takes him out of the game, when he starts standing around on defense because he's pissed off that he missed shots, that's more what I mean. It affects him. It's not just the sad face. It's more than that.
Yeah, and it's the minutes too, I'm sure. There's an energy level thing right now too that I'm almost certain he's dealing with, especially after that Monday game. Again, questionable tonight. They're loading up minutes with him. They're loading up minutes with Brown, White too. So it is getting to a point where you do get a little concerned on that front, that they're starting to wear a little bit, especially when you look at shooting like this for Tatum. I mean, he had a great start to the year shooting the ball, and it's just slowly worn down, and that can wear down on you too. And I think that's, John, what we're hitting on here is that if you're missing shots, if you're not getting what you want offensively, are you still doing all the other little things to make up for it? And in this game, it came and went. And I feel like for a lot of this season, we haven't seen him defend at the level that he can. Brown started the year strong on that front, hasn't been as great lately. And, you know, I still want to see this team get to a higher level defensively. That's the biggest thing for me is they get closer to the All-Star break. This is a good offensive game for them. I like the energy on that end, but it did end up being a layup line on the other side at times, and the transition defense wasn't great. And I think that's directly correlated to some of the shooting struggles these guys are going through. So I don't really care about the body language. I want these guys to be able to do all the little things and play with the intensity that we're used to a lot of them playing with. And that's what's lapsed in a lot of these different spots over this month. And, you know, the one thing I'll say about Porzingis, I feel like what he's doing right now can instill some joy, some energy, some life into this team. Like, I think he is infectious in that sense. And that's why I hit hard on his voice a lot of the time today, because obviously I love that he's blasting them when they're not doing what they want, what they need to do. But when he's playing well, when he's the center and, you know, he's catching these alley-oops and all this different stuff, and his personality, I'm sure, is infectious too in the way that it can give them a little life here. So if everybody's job, John, is going to be pass to Porzingis and watch him score, I think that will make everybody's life a little happier right now for this team. And obviously that's become more and more the case over this month here. What he's doing right now is ridiculous, and it's really fun to watch. I'll say this, guys, I don't have a lot of fun watching this team, just for all the reasons we've talked about, some of the disappointments, but man, is he fun to watch when he's rolling. It's ridiculous. The alley-oop, the threes from half court, he's running in transition and catching it right out in the logo and just sort of flicking his wrists and watching it drain through. You feel like it's going to go in every time. The guy's just awesome. Obviously, he's awesome to talk to, but he's awesome to watch play too. I mean, what a great run he's on right now.
We were saying it, me and Sherrod were saying it when John was having some Joe Sway issues, Brockton Wi-Fi issues, Bobby, is that it was like Porzingis might be, and Jaylen Brown mentioned it in his post-game press conference, that Porzingis is kind of taking on, or seems to be embracing more of a leadership role, maybe for the first time in his career, when you think about where he's how his career sort of started. And now he finds himself on obviously a winning team in Boston, and he's playing a lot more consistently now, feels more comfortable speaking up, I think more so than maybe he ever has. And he's not, you know, shying away from taking on a little bit more of a vocal, I guess, role on this team, you know. And then if you talk about, you know, we joke about it, but, you know, trying to get Tatum or Brown, or I'm not going to say that about Brown, but Tatum, I would say, trying to get him to speak up and to really, you know, show emotion in that sense has been hard to do. It's been hard, few and far between those times come. So Porzingis is kind of, I think, answered the bell a little bit in a way.
Yeah, and we always go over the media versus the internal stuff, and I do think him saying that there's a lack of communication sometimes, whether that's on the court or off the court, I think was pretty revealing. And I probably think it's more on the court, especially defensively. We've talked about pointing fingers and guys getting lost in transition or in rotations and all that. So I'm sure it's more on that end of things. I know Joe before the game seemed to think that's what he was talking about. And sometimes, you know, we don't always know what Kristaps is talking about. Sometimes I do feel
let's play it. Let's play it. I don't think
Yeah.
There's nothing about meat in this one, but Bobby wanted me to run it, so here it is.
Yeah, I mean, we honestly, this is like, because also we're a team that's very experienced. Like, these guys have been to playoffs many times. They've been together for a long time, and there's not a lot to say, honestly. You know, when you're a young team and you have like guys, you know, younger guys that there's a lot to like for them to learn. There's much more to say. Here on this team, I feel like as I came in, I was like, oh, these guys know how to play basketball, you know. So there's no reason to force it, but it's true that like also sometimes we lack a little bit like communication as a team, and we need to talk more, whatever it is, you know. So So I think, yeah, that part we can improve for sure. We have a pretty like chill and relaxed locker room. Yeah, I think as I said, there's no reason to like force it, I want to do this, do that. Like, it's just, if it's there, it's something to say, we have to say it. That's all it is. And just not be afraid to if we need to call each other out, or if, whatever it is that we have to say it. And that's how we get better. That's how we actually have each other's back at the end of the day. When you say what's on your mind, and okay, we go past that and we play as a group. So it's important. It's important that we all do it for sure.
So that's the thing. The first part of that quote, you could believe what Joe had said, that he's talking about communicating on the court. The second part is clearly not. The second part is clearly off it. And I think that's what he's talking about. Is we silently, quietly go about our business, and when things aren't going well, nobody's saying stuff, and maybe somebody should say stuff, and that's what he's talking about right there. And this goes back to Tatum and Brown not wanting to be captains when Ime wanted to make them captains, and all the way through. They've never had that. And so you do have everyone professionals, Porzingis, White, Holiday, they go about their business, Tatum, Brown. But you're right. If who's stepping up to say to Brown, dude, you're standing around on defense. Come on, man. I don't know if that happens. You don't have your Draymond Green in there, which is probably a good thing, but you don't have somebody in there to kind of, the Draymond Buddy Hield thing, somebody's got to be like, dude, no, that's not how we do it here. Yeah. But I think and it's not because those guys are doing it all the time that they have to be called out. It's just simply, there's probably enough respect in there, which would be like, all right, whatever. He'll get it the next time or next game, or but
that's what I felt like is the case, John. I know we always have that debate, is the podium stuff actually going on behind the scenes? And again, we don't know, but I do feel like there is a little bit of letting them off the hook across the board for some of the lapses and some of the mistakes and some of the inconsistencies we've seen from them this year. In fact, Kristaps described the post game after Houston and said it was just Joe taking the blame for it, which again, credit to him for doing that. Them, huddling up and heading their separate ways. And I know they went over all that after or before the game today at the shoot around, but there isn't, I feel like a confrontational nature to this team internally. I think they're all on good terms. I think, like Kristaps said in the bite there, they're pretty chill group. So I'm sure a lot of their response to some of these losses and to some of these lapses has been, on to the next one. We'll figure it out and fix it.
But it all folds together, right? Between this and the press conferences and we'll be fine, or they made some shots, and there's a little bit of a blasé sort of vibe where someone almost has to kind of smack somebody upside the head and be like, nope, time to get serious.
And sometimes that works, right? I didn't like that approach during the 2023's finals. And I even asked Tatum then, do you have to change that approach a little bit? Because that's him, right? That's Tatum to a T. Bad game, bad shooting night, forget it, move on. Don't dwell on it. Don't analyze it, and just move on to the next game. And I think they sort of follow his lead on that. And I don't always love that, but there have been circumstances in his career, the Milwaukee series 2022, the Heat series 2023. I know they didn't win it, but they come back down from 3-0. And I was like, you have to look in the mirror a little more, actually assess some of these letdowns you guys have had. And he's just like, nope, watch the film, move on to the next game, and, keep shooting. And I'm like, all right, they came back. So it's worked for them before. I feel like that's where some of their confidence comes from. And Kristaps said there in the clip too, these guys have done this now for a long time. So I do think there's a belief from the newcomers that Brown and Tatum know what they're doing, have their approach, and they just follow their lead. But I do feel like there is room for other voices in there to speak up sometimes. And I'm glad Kristaps, and it's that Toronto comment, Noah, that obviously got me going on this, that they lack spirit and all that stuff from that game. That was a game that deserved a little bit of a biting, critical comment about the room and, where they were at after that game. And they obviously bounced right back from that game and destroyed the Magic a couple nights later. So I like that he's willing to speak his mind here. I do think they need a little real tough talk after some of these losses rather than just saying, oh, it's fun being in this spot where we've lost all these games and it's great. I don't think that's helpful at all, but maybe I'm wrong.
You're not wrong.
No, you're not
Raptors
wrong.
game was the only one. No,
What's
it's funny. The
that?
Raptors game was the only one. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
No, just the Raptors game was the only one where they were, I think, looked back and thought to themselves, like, this was kind of an embarrassing loss, or there wasn't really like an explanation for it. They didn't chalk it up to like some variant shooting or thing. Like there was a different level of
uncomfortable conversations. Go ahead, Noah.
I don't remember what I was gonna say.
Sorry, Jimmy corrected this thing.
Oh, don't blame me.
No, explain.
No, you were gonna say you're talking about the Raptors.
Used to talk about this, but you were on the Raptors game when that was the only one.
Yeah, I mean, I know everybody wants them to call the team out, and I know Bobby, we've talked about this a bunch of times, but like, I don't think they are like, they're not going to give us a front that that's not happening behind closed doors, and it may reach a point like if they don't go on a win streak at some point, like they may change their tune. I just don't think that they feel any sense of panic. Like it seems very genuine to me. Like Jaylen, we know last year Jaylen used to, like they had some losses last year when the Celtics had the best record in the league, and Jaylen was like, that was unacceptable. I'm thinking about the one in Cleveland where they were up by 20 in the fourth quarter and lost that one after Dean Wade went off. And Jaylen after the game was pissed. And you're just not seeing that out of those guys. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's like that shows like that's a weak spot to be going out to the media and like ripping your teammates or not losing faith or being overtly like stressed out about a loss. Like I think that it is a good thing, and that's where their confidence is. And a lot of my confidence in them comes from that.
I'm going to go back to the Ime stuff again, and I know I'm caught up on that year, and I really enjoyed their approach that year. Their big thing was accountability that year, and maybe that accountability is being handled internally. We always have to go back to that. Maybe this stuff we don't know here. But just from the outside looking in, I do feel like there is a little bit of a sense of letting them off the hook when they have some lapses or guys aren't doing their job or they just have unacceptable losses. And I don't think there's anything wrong with every once in a while, not to say Joe should be blasting them left and right here, but selectively saying, hey, this can't happen. Because the mistakes comment themselves, John. We've watched a lot of stuff repeat.
Real quick, Bobby, this is important because this is it right here. This is, you keep looking back at 23. The reason this comes up when the team wins and when people are like, well, they've proven is this. We've seen the Tatum Brown group with other spare parts have this issue on and off and not able to turn it back on and be complacent and not give 100% effort. And so I'm sorry, like it's not erased from everybody's memory because they won last year. And if they fall this year and come up short or have a really disappointing, everyone will be like, well, why are we surprised by it? So it can go both ways. I'm not saying because they were once this way, it'll go that way again, or because they won last year, they're assured to turn it around. But it's hard to forget that this was a recurring problem time and again that required massive roster overhaul to bring in people around Tatum and Brown to avoid this type of thing from happening. And when you see it for long stretches, the PTSD comes in there. It's not saying it's going to happen, but it's not going to happen just because they won last year. It's in there somewhere where this complacency sometimes takes hold, and that's what's scary for people. I still,
I thought of another line.
Yeah,
add it to the bulletin board, John. People expect them to win every game.
Yeah, but it's fine. Like I said, I'm actually still leaning on that panic meter. I'm much closer to not than whatever on it.
I just want to say I hate doing the show and being like, woo, and then 2 days from now being like, oh shit, they just lost bad again.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I hate it.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
No, well, I hate that every time when they win and they lose, it sounds like they lost. So there's the flip side of that too.
You mean sounds like it here?
Yeah, I think like tonight, Derek White had a great game. And that was, to me, like, he's the X factor. He's the most important.
100%.
Yeah, and so, like, there are positive things to build off of. And I feel like the whether or not they're soft, whether or not they're holding each other accountable, like, that can always be the story, and that will always be the story. But they might lose this championship, and people can say, like, they were soft all along, but I don't think that necessarily will mean that. Like it'll mean that they weren't able to repeat. They ran out of gas.
Let's see how it happens. I mean, if they run into a better team, Noah, or a team that's just on fire and they lose in 7, like that's fine. Like I don't think anyone's gonna freak out and be like failure, awful season. Obviously, the expectation is championship this year. But if there's a commensurate effort, if they figure it out and flip that switch, and they go on a great run and come up just short, I won't have any major qualms about it. But if it's 2023 again, they're down 3-0 to the 8 seed, and it's like, oh, we lost our defensive identity. Like you're gonna be mad, John, if they lose in 7 to the Thunder.
No, but I mean, anything short of getting to the finals again is not good enough. I'm sorry.
Right.
Like this was like fine. The Thunder are playing great, and everybody thought they'd be good, and they're playing even better than people imagined. But like you knew there was going to be other good teams. This was supposed to be a prohibitive favorite entering this year. Things change as the season goes on, but the thing that changed is they don't look as good as last year, and other teams look a little bit better. But this team. I'm sorry, like. Yeah, they're held to a much higher standard. It's time. It's time to stop the one on, one off, string together a bunch, show the world who you actually are, and then people will stop with this nonsense because it's tiresome. The worst thing ever is exactly that, Bobby. Like, okay, they beat the Bulls without their best player, which is great. But you're supposed to. And last year's team wins this game sitting 3 of their starters. We've seen it. That standard is much higher, and the standard for Tatum is higher. And why there's anything is great. Show us something. Show it to us again and again and again and again, and they'll be like, all right, they're back on track. They haven't been. That's the issue. Mm-hmm. But yes, this team, if they try and they're healthy, should not lose. Sorry, shouldn't lose.
We'll see. There's some competition out there, but
they shouldn't lose in the East.
Everything about this team is to win now, so you can't.
Yeah, right.
And this is the end of the window. Honestly, guys,
yeah.
This is it. It closes after this year. Like, what do you want? Like, you want a participation trophy this year, and then to sell
I'm
off
just saying
parts?
that
this is it, guys. Like, let's get serious.
There is some new they lose on a game-winning shot in games, and of course, see how the series goes. Like everything's gonna be about the context there, John, but. 2023 was so clearly a failure when you get to that spot and you're the second seed and one of the best teams all year long and you end up in that position. That's when we're going to be like, what the hell if they're in a spot like that come May? If they're in the finals and they're rolling again and they find themselves and they just lose to a team that plays better in that series, or there's a major injury or something like that, like I'm going to leave some room for them to be outcome short of a championship, to Noah's point there. But I am going to hold them to the standard that we saw them play at last year because it is pretty much the same team. So that's where I don't like hearing we're expected to win every game or best shots or all this different stuff. Like, this is what they wanted. And Joe has said that too, to his credit. Like, do you guys want to do this or not? And he has had to say that a couple times this year. Like, this is what it's like to try to repeat. And you can't lament that. Best shots and whatever else comes with that.
I think just that line of like, we're expected to repeat. Everybody wants us to win every single game. Or sorry, not the repeat line, that we're expected to win every single game. I think it's because a lot of times when they're losing, we're on the hunt for like, why did they lose? Like, what's the big secret that we're going to unveil? Is there dissent in the locker room? Do Tatum and Brown have beef? Like, we're trying to figure out like what is going on. And I think their frustration is that sometimes you just like aren't at your best. And sometimes it's like, you're just having a bad week, or you just don't have it. And I think that's when we start to get those answers more, when they've lost a game or two and now there's a post-game availability and a shoot-around availability, and the questions are all basically saying the same thing of like, why are you guys losing? Why aren't you guys better? And then you start to hear the stuff of like, I don't know, we're expected to be perfect, but we're not. And
that's fine. But do you hear it have you heard it from other teams in like teams that are dynasties or year in, year out winners? Like, when the Golden State Warriors were dominating and they'd lose a game or two, like the Patriots for 20 something years, like you just didn't hear that stuff. There's this woe is me. It doesn't, they don't wear it well. It's never going to be excused. You never heard the Patriots say that. They were expected to win the Super Bowl every year for 20 freaking years. It just
Can you imagine Belichick at the podium?
It just isn't how you
win every game. Huh?
It's so weird. It doesn't really matter. It just isn't how you talk. It just isn't. I'm sorry. Like you just.
It's just funny.
Can I ask a serious question? Ideally, how do you want these guys to talk? Because I feel like no matter how they talk, we don't like it. So what's the ideal, like in your ideal world, after this stretch of basketball where they're 500 for 2 months, how are they handling themselves at the podium that we like?
We already said it. You ban the other team's best shot. Well, that guy just hit a bunch of threes, and what are we gonna do? You know, and anything that looks like an excuse, anything that looks like an excuse other than.
But what is yes? What is okay?
We did it. We did. We were bad on defense. All of us.
Don't say
everybody.
we. John isn't like we.
You can't say we. Like
I don't like saying we I don't like saying we from a person who was clearly a culprit.
What I really don't like.
Yeah, if just eat it. We sucked. We're playing like ass. Right? We're terrible right now. This was an unacceptable performance. Like I don't want to hear anything.
So you like Jaylen of last year? That's what Jaylen did last year after bad games. He would be like,
"Sure,
that's unacceptable." Like that's your ideal.
Sometimes I don't even care what they say because I don't even believe what they say.
I don't care deeply. It's just you hurt yourself more with the excuse. I don't care either way because I don't think it actually matters. I just think you hurt yourself more with the excuses. That's it. Own it. Move on. When you own it, you give people nowhere to go with it. When you sit here and you say things like that, you're creating more issues for yourself and over non-stories. You know
what drove me crazy earlier in the year, John, and no, it was the deflections. And a lot of that was from Joe, right? The untrained eye, and you don't get it. This is happening because this is happening. And there was a lot of deflection about some of their issues, and those issues lingered. And there was a lot of, oh, it's great. You know, we played awesome the night after losses and stuff like it just doesn't come off as honest to me a lot of the time. And there's been less of that lately. We're laughing about some of the best shot and stuff like that. That stuff doesn't bother me as much. But I do feel like there was some stuff happening earlier in the year that has festered a little bit and has remained as part of their play there. So, yeah, it is just about owning it sometimes. And they don't want to give us that satisfaction sometimes. And that's fine. But I hope they're actually addressing it behind the scenes.
And it's fine. I guess I can't talk about other sports because I don't know what the Patriots did with the media. I know Belichick is known for not talking, but like Jalen Brunson is a guy who I don't know if you guys follow, but every time he plays poorly or the Knicks lose, he just goes, "It's my fault. I have to be better. I was a disappointment. I was a disaster. Like I have to be better." And the New York Knicks fans are like, "Oh my God, dude, say anything else." The media is like, "You're literally like a robot that's like, it's my fault. I have to be accountable." Like, I just think that it's really hard to strike a balance with the media that is consumed well. And I think these guys have done a pretty good job. Like Porzingis is pretty candid with us. Jalen's pretty candid with us. Tatum's always going to say the straight, kind of non-controversial thing. And he does a good job of staying out of the news cycle that way. Like, I just think they actually have and I know this, we don't need to like make the whole show about like whether or not we like how they talk, but like, I do feel like it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. And if I look across the league, like we would not like how Anthony Edwards talks if we covered him. We would be like, what is like every night he says something that's just mind-blowing. And then there's guys like on the other side of the spectrum that's like they don't even ever say anything. So I feel like they've been okay.
Yeah, look,
they've been there.
That's fine, Matt. They've been okay. They've been okay.
It's fine. It's like I said, you're very likely right that you can't win. When you're losing, you can't win. People are frustrated one way or the other. It really comes down to accountability versus excuses. And I think excuses sit worse than anything else that you would say. And that's why we keep talking about, well, Brooks will never get that hot again. And every team's giving us their best shot. I'm saying no one wants to hear traffic. No one wants to hear the other team's going to try. We lost because the other team tried hard because it was their Super Bowl. Like that's anything.
We haven't heard the Super Bowl line, John. I'm waiting for that one.
Anything that puts it over L. That's the number one no. Everything else, you're right. You're walking a tightrope. It is difficult one way or the other to get it going. It's just it's weird because you don't hear it a lot.
He is great. Yeah. He is great.
So yeah, it is refreshing. That's what's funny is like, okay, yeah, you want to answer it? answer every question the same way Kristaps Porzingis answers every question. That's the perfect way. But for some reason, he's nailed
He
it.
almost is. He's about to get himself in trouble though. Every game he says something where he has to like almost walk it back, and then now that's the ones that we could be like, Porzingis said this. What did you think about that? And like we kind of have to like he's gonna get himself in trouble eventually. But I agree. I mean, everybody loves talking to him because he is the one that gives us the most accurate temperature check.
Not when he's
Well,
shooting
he's
50% from three.
Yeah, but he's authentic with his thoughts. I mean, when they're good, he's authentically good. When they're not playing great and they suck, he's authentic about that. If you turn the ball over 5 times and the team turns it over 9 and you lose by 3 or 4, I don't want to hear about we didn't play well. No, you were a big part of why your team didn't play well. Own that. And I think that's where some of the frustration and disappointment with some of the comments. Sometimes there are things that are blatantly obvious, and players who were blatantly bad in certain games won't own the fact that they were blatantly bad. And other nights where they're amazingly awesome, like Porzingis tonight, sometimes they just, this was a great team win. We all did. Hell, you made 9 threes. You were kind of the big thing tonight. Own that. Or if you made 5 turnovers and you lose, you were kind of a big factor. Be authentic with it. And that's why we love Porzingis.
Or
win or lose, he's authentically who he is.
Or just win more. And then I hate this topic. I really do. I hate it. I think they dig themselves a hole by doing that kind of stuff, but I hate it. I don't think it means a thing. And I think what Bobby said earlier, I've said it a million times. Half the time is they just don't want to give you the soundbite, and that's freaking fine too. Like I've said it 1,000 times. Those guys sit there looking at the media like, I don't want to answer these idiots' freaking questions, and like I don't want to give them what they want to write their pieces. I don't want to do it, and they think they know everything, and they think they know why we lost, and they don't know shit. So I just don't want to give in, and I totally get that. And I put next to zero stake in it, but they put themselves in the conversation that way, and people run away with it and talk media, and fans hear it and they don't like it either. So it's more about a matter of not that it matters, just it's easier to preserve. You're not going to get people to turn on you as much if you don't do that stuff. I mean, that's why they have media coaches for these types of things, like what to say and what not to say. Like it's not. Yeah, anyone who's ever seen Bull Durham in the famous scene where he's like literally telling him, this is how you answer every question. That way you're never going to get yourself in trouble, But again, it's not important. It's not important. It's not an important thing. Final thoughts here as we head into what are the next 2 games? Are you guys going to these?
No. We'll be in Cleveland and Philadelphia, but not New Orleans.
I know that one. But what's coming up next? It's New Orleans and then Philly on the weekend?
Friday at New Orleans.
Okay, so we're all back Friday for New Orleans, and then Bobby and Noah will be headed to the back-to-back with Philly and Cleveland, which should be fun. So a cool little stretch of games here with these guys, and hopefully they can kind of run it. And then we've got trade deadline is when exactly?
6
Thursday.
Tonight might have been the last night that we saw some of these guys.
Right?
Like at home. This could have been Jaden Springer's last home game as a Celtic.
Wow.
Sad. Tier.
Will he get a tribute? You think?
You're going
to
there?
Jumbotron tribute?
I hope not, but it's possible. I didn't think they were going to trade anybody last year. It's like they're winning so much, and they traded 2 guys.
Noah, you don't get to be happy for Lonnie Walker when Lonnie Walker comes here. You don't get to be happy for him.
I don't think he's coming here.
You or Bobby. In fact,
I wouldn't trade
the whole
Springer,
show
by
on
the way.
apology cam if that happens.
Right, Bobby? You'd keep Springer, right?
I said it after that Clippers game. He changed the course of his career with that game, and now I think he's a real part of this team going forward. So
the course
maybe
of
I'm
his
wrong about
career?
that.
Oh, you missed
Yeah, he was about to be dumped.
Where were you the night of the Jaylen Springer game?
He was about to be dumped right out of here, Shrod, and then you put him in a game, and he completely changed.
So when
it,
he
hit a
goes
game
into the
winner.
Hall of Fame, we're going to look back at that Clippers game. This is where he went from being
where it all
to
changed.
Hall of Fame.
All I think is that he made the case that he should stay with this team and not just be a salary dump.
What I don't understand about
right.
it, I don't understand why that happened. Which game was that? Where the Clippers, right?
The Clippers game. Then he didn't play
And
for
then-
3 straight games.
It played, but barely. That's what I didn't get. Like, and then he's back for 20. I don't understand that yo-yo action. I thought if he earned it, I thought he would have been right back out there. But whatever.
Let me ask you this. Maybe it was a showcase game but maybe Joe is showcasing to Brad, hey, this guy can help us win. Do not trade him as a salary dump. Here's what he can do for us.
I got a question.
Wow.
Blorp, where the hell have you been?
That is a good question, too.
Jesus.
We started seeing this stuff again the last 2 days, John, and all people need to realize is that it's 2025 and that Isaiah season was 2017. That was 8 years ago.
Yeah, that was a great season.
I can't.
And Isaiah still
It
dropped
was 8
40.
years ago.
I love IT.
Bobby, you're like you and Noah are like the G League unofficial like cheerleaders of the G League. Like you guys, he drops 40 and you want to minimize it, but we get play-by-play of Shireman up there. Every pass he makes, we get a play-by-play. But Isaiah Thomas drops 40 and it means nothing.
I think it means a lot.
Davison might be in the All-Star game.
I know. But I mean, regardless of whether or not he's going to be an NBA player, the fact that every time Isaiah Thomas rejoins the G League, he just drops 40 and 8 like that. It's like it is pretty cool. Like,
well, that also shows you how little JD Davison's 26 points per game actually means.
Not necessarily.
There's a flip side to that. If it's good for IT, it's not that great for everyone else doing it.
It's like
he was
when
on
guys
an NBA
play
roster
in the Chinese
last
Basketball
spring.
Association and average 35 points and come to the NBA and average 3.5 points. The conversion rate, just saying.
Yeah.
I love Isaiah to death, but it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's probably not going to contribute to an NBA team, but I do think the whole like trolling Isaiah because he's still trying thing is so old because he was literally on an NBA roster last spring. Not that you guys were doing it.
I don't
but
mind
see
him
all the
still
time
trying.
Yeah,
I know, and I hope he doesn't mind it.
No, what I mind is
I think he
everybody
should have been on
thinking
that
it's
team.
7 years ago and that the Celtics should sign him.
I haven't
Those
seen a lot of that.
conversations. Oh,
I
those
think
are
he
Really?
deserves to be an NBA.
Send him my way. I need that kind of energy.
a ton of it last year.
I
Yeah,
think he
there was
deserves an
talks
NBA
last
team.
year, Noah, that he should be playing ahead of Pritchard.
Yeah.
Legit.
It's for the best that he doesn't come to Boston because I don't know that I can cover him objectively. He's like the one player I would just be too much of a fan of.
He won't come here because it's just doesn't no fit at this point. But I
They
think
should have signed him
he's
during
good enough
COVID.
to be on the NBA roster for sure.
They should have.
Friggin' Joe Johnson.
Yeah, they should have.
Yeah,
that was
no, Sherrod, stop it. You said some things about him, about Joe Johnson back then. It's a long time ago, and that's fine.
It was revisionist. Yeah, we might have to go back to the files and burn those.
Yeah, that's okay.
ISO Joe, just say no.
Yeah, but we've gone crazy with the IT talk. I'm fine. I'm rooting for him. I hope he comes. I hope he plays. But yeah, interesting week ahead. So keep it with the Garden Report all the way through. For those people interested in football, we've got unbelievable amounts of coverage, including Taylor Kyles, Greg Bedard, Mike Giardi, all at the Senior Bowl. Amit's down there too, taking it all in. And then our boys are heading to the Super Bowl next week for some coverage there as well.
Let's go,
So
Amit.
Amit and Taylor, Super Bowl bound, New Orleans. We might never speak. You might never see Jaden Springer. We might never see Amit again. No,
Amit's not getting out of New Orleans alive.
I am really worried about that.
Just make sure Amit doesn't take a connecting flight through Atlanta.
Yeah, I almost went.
Went
to. He's not leaving there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. I almost went just as a chaperone.
Yeah,
that is not a bad idea.
Yeah,
I didn't know they were going to the Super Bowl.
Fine,
That's cool.
I'll go as a chaperone, John.
They're not going to the game. They're going to the They're going to the Super Bowl week, the lead up.
Oh, got it.
Lots of good media coverage and stuff to be had there. It's fun. It's a good week. Yeah, I miss it. We're gonna do a much bigger CLNS contingent next year.
I'm in.
With a table, radio, all of that stuff. Anyway, but that's what we got. So lots of Patriots coverage as well with the offseason rolls on and interesting stuff and draft coverage and all of that. But the Celtics next week plus is going to be super interesting. So make sure that you keep it here. We will see you guys later. Thanks to Noah and Bobby covering the game from the Garden. Jimmy Toscano, Sherrod Blakely. I'm John Zannis and Blorp. Welcome back, buddy. We'll see you guys later. No one's sneaking a vegan brownie by me, I'll tell you that.
Okay, you know what, John? We're going to do it.
You have to feel that way too, Bobby.
I have to feel that way. Let's fight Al over and make Luke your first center.
Bobby, we gave you Luke an hour early. We're not going to end this on a damn conversation about Luke